James, is the U.S. in crisis today?
Everything's in crisis today. What do you mean? Everything's like wappy wappy woo. This is a weird one. I was waking up one morning, and there was a sense of a twilight state, that dream state. And I was aware of, I was standing in some kind of space with a man across the street, and he was wearing a three-piece suit and fedora, and I was wearing a three-piece suit and fedora, and there's a cobblestone street somewhere in Germany. Like it was 1938, 39. And I said, okay, I have to go now. And he said, okay, we'll see you later. And he goes, hi, Hitler. And I went, hi. Oh, I can't say that anymore. And I woke up. So maybe these situations these days in our world forces us to really look at things in a different way and to bring an understanding or love or light. And we all signed up for it. Remember, we all signed up to come back at this particular time as our souls to learn, what is this all about? Well,
are you ready to shine? Shine bright. Woo-hoo! Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wondered what the spirit realm has to say about what's going on in the world today and whether we'll make it through, then do we have the James Van Praagh, The Power of Love show for you. Today, I'll be talking with James Van Praagh, TV star, medium, and the author of over 12 #1 New York Times bestselling books, including The Power of Love. That's just what I want to talk with them about today, about what's going on with Schoolroom Earth, with the U.S., the world, and our own personal awakenings. So welcome back to the show, James. Are you ready to shine?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
For everyone here, we have the rapport going on. This is just our relationship.
This isn't our first time at the rodeo, no.
No, and so I'm having a hard time keeping a straight face as we're doing this. Although, and we do like to bring, levity and love. And so it's going to be hard to segue into this question because I like keeping things positive. But James, is the U.S. in crisis today?
Everything's in crisis today. What do you mean? Everything's like wappy wappy woo.
Well, I was going to say U.S. in the world. Is the U.S. and the world in crisis today?
U.S. definitely, obviously, and definitely the world. In that, it's as everybody knows, it feels very unstable. It's not, it's nothing like the old times. It's a new world. It's a whole new way. It's forcing people, and really, I think there are no accidents. I think it's all in divine, a timing, and we all signed up for it. Remember, we all signed up to come back at this particular time as our souls to learn. So like, well, what is this all about? Well, I can only say what I've heard, what I know is that it's an incredible time right now for spirituality in that. And one of the things, we have 7 planets right now aligned in Pisces. Pisces is a spiritual sign.
Tomorrow is the full alignment. So when people get this, it'll be just past peak alignment.
Yeah. So, some places you can go out to in front of your house or apartment and look up, you'll see the planets, but they're all in Pisces. And next time we have that alignment will be 2040. So when you have all planets in a certain sign, it brings a lot of energy because, each planet is a certain energy. Each sign brings a certain type of energy. And Pisces is the sign that brings a lot of sensitivity, a lot of water, a lot of martyrdom, a lot of stuff going on. And Mars is in Pisces, and Mars is the planet that rules battles, confrontations in Pisces, which is water. So wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of water things going on, like maybe war on water, maybe floods, maybe tsunamis, lots of water things. So it's a time where, and when you have stuff which is uncertain, right, and insecure time, it's going to force every single person. They can't look on the outside, they got to go on the inside. So it's a major opening to go within, and it's a major spiritual awakening, which is actually happening. And because people are going to find they can't trust themselves in the outside world of things that are going on, they got to go within. And within, there'll be change. There'll be change made on a massive level I can just say a higher level, from a spiritual level, from an awareness level. Because a lot of people are going to say, why don't these people get it? What's going on? They're like sleepwalking. And so we, all who are awake, and all those who will become awake, will be forced to be awake, will start looking at a whole new way of doing things and being. and bringing back compassion and love. So it's going to happen. This will not last. This time of chaos. It won't last. But it is a time for incredible changes with spirituality, going within enlightenment. It's all about enlightenment. And that has to be. And we came back to make that change, Michael. You're one of us. And all your listeners.
Every single one.
With this.
So I want to dive into so many pieces that we can take, enlightenment, diving in, awakening people and having to wake up. But I watched an interview you did last year about 2025, and forgive me, but you said we may even, oh my God, I can't even believe I can say it with a straight face. World War III?
Oh yeah. Oh sure. My sister passed over in 2024, I think it was, and the first thing she said is, "You got to get out of there. It's going to be World War III." And I still believe there's going to be a World War III. Now, I personally
get out of where?
Yeah, so then that's my next insight here. I believe there's going to be a lot of different places, whether it's in Europe or whether it's the U.S. in some cities. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if there is something that happens in Washington, D.C. or Chicago or L.A. and New York, and in ways that we don't expect. I think it's going to happen. I can't say it's tomorrow. I can't say it's next week. So I just know that is there. So we'll see, but yeah, I think.
What else has she told you?
Huh?
What else has she told you?
Get the hell out of there! I'm like, how am I going to get out of here? I mean, come on. And then my brother left, so he went out, but and he said that the conditions are not great for you. But I think that I just think it's going to happen. I can't give you a timeline as far as April or May, but I will tell you that I'm already starting getting a generator and paper towels and things like that, and toilet paper and home supplies, just because I've also had visions that, like CVS, empty shelves, and as we know, things are going to shift and change. But I think people need to start looking at things in a different way. And I don't want to put fear and still fear anybody or scare anybody, but it's just a matter of just surviving. Being in your house, in your home, in your family. Just be aware that you'll have enough to survive. And it sounds kind of scary and creepy, but again, what's going on in the outside world, you can change from the inside out, and that's really where you're going to be able to go to.
All right.
I don't know what else to say, because it's just.
Well, I've got three different directions to go on this. So
Okay.
one is, and I'm not sure what order to take things. One is about mass exodus, which you've talked about before.
Okay, stop right there, because I do think mass exodus. Right now we're in eclipse season, and during eclipse season, lots of souls that will move. Lots of souls. It's an opening. It's a portal for a lot of souls to go on. So between eclipse season, between now and March 29th, and then toward the end of the summer, September, you'll see a lot of exodus of spirits, of souls, all different ages, all different ways. Not only violent ways, but you'll see young people in all different ways. So watch that, because it'll be an exodus, a mass exodus. When you have eclipse seasons.
But you're not talking about specifically, well, you've already mentioned
war. Or no, I'm just in a general way. There'll be, whether it's war, disease, whatever, it's going to be a lot mass exodus of lots of souls that are meant to go at that time.
Thank you. Do you see also a split in humanity? Those who make it, those who don't, or those who wake up, those who won't?
Yeah, but I do get a good feeling that a lot more people will be more aware. And I don't like to get into political things, just don't like to. But that being said, I think people, not everyone, some people are going to wake up and say, something doesn't feel fair here. This isn't, this is going on in the country we're living in. I think it's going to be an extreme backlash for what's going on with the government. I just do. I don't know how, when, and where it's going to happen, but I do think that will happen.
Well, without going to a place of politics, we've seemed to have lost our arrow for love, for kindness, for compassion, for non-judgment. These things seem to be lost, which is interesting, because if we're talking about an awakening, then why does there seem to be a return to prejudice, a return to circling the wagons, us against them?
I just think that in order to heal, right, and to be mindful, that you first got to see the junk, and in order for the healing to begin, you got to first scrape those scars and see what's happening. It's almost like the water lily. It has to go through all this muck and dirt and horrendous atmosphere, and then because of that, it provides a beautiful flower, the water lily, and it needed all that muck to come out of it. And I think any kind of healing, number one, you've got to acknowledge what's going on as far as whether it's a dis-ease or imbalance or craziness, you got to see that first. In order to be healed, you first got to know what has to be healed. So that has to come to the surface. And right now in our country, things are starting to come to the surface. This isn't anything new that people would, taking over advantage of people or taking money or hiding things. And I think that in the government, not to be political, but I will say that I think there was some, taking money off the top, hiding it, whatever it might be, but nothing like the extreme that they're showing. But there was some of that. So maybe a little of that's coming out, which is fine. It'll shift things around. But again, I don't think it'll stay the extreme that it's at right now, but it will open up people's eyes and bureaucrats that, wait a minute, we got to redo some shifting around as far as healthcare and social services and so forth. Again, I don't think it's going to stay in the extreme that they're presenting right now, cutting services and all that. I don't think they'll get that far. I think there'll be some pushback, and I think it'll actually balance out. But again, anytime there's an awareness, a newness, a birth, at birth, many times you have to go through pain in order for something to be birthed, right? And I think that's what we're at right now.
Thank you. Last question on this, and then I really want to dive into the spiritual side, because I see huge positive possibilities if we dive in and do the inner work at this time. And I really want to hear what you're hearing from the other side. However, if I understand right, and if not, we'll cut this question right out. You are or were or have been a World War II geek.
Oh,
someone who studied World War II.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've always been fascinated with Nazi Germany. Always. And a matter of fact, when I was as a little kid, if there was something that came out about World War II, Hitler, Germany, I was like right in it. I'm like, oh, and I know this. I feel familiar with this. I've lived this. And then, this is very interesting. And friends of mine, I had a roommate who loved the same thing. He was like always fascinated by that time. And then another good friend of mine got books on it. I said, you too? So it's almost like we came together. This is a weird one. I was waking up one morning, and there was a sense of like a twilight state, that dream state. And I was just a bit awake, but I was asleep. And I was aware I was standing in some kind of space with a man across the street, and he was wearing a three-piece suit and fedora, and I was wearing a three-piece suit and fedora. And there's a cobblestone street somewhere in Germany. And I knew it was like it was 1938, 39. And I said, okay, I have to go now. And he said, okay, we'll see you later. And he goes, hi, Hitler. And I went, hi. Oh, I can't say that anymore. And I woke up. So, I think that's there. I think that we always got to remember that there's no time in relative to this. Time is only the three-dimensional world. So the other side, if you want to call it the outside, this little bubble, and we pop out, we realize that it's all happening at once. So you can experience that other lifetime, that future lifetime, that galaxy, that world. It's all happening at the same time simultaneously. So, humans like to put things in the linear way, which is fine, it's three-dimensional world. But we got to also not forget that's all happening simultaneously, and that what we do right now can affect the past and the future. The amount of love that we give out can indeed change it. No one asks me how it changes, but that vibration, that energy shifts things around. And that's how I want to live my life. Because I feel like when we come back here, it's very interesting. The soul starts coming back to this human world. We go through, before it's into the body, as a baby, it goes through, this is very interesting. So the mother is pregnant, and this is why I think I'm totally, I'm for abortion or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter, because the soul's not there until like 9 or 10 months. The soul's not embedded in that body. So what happens is it hangs around the mother for 7th, 8th month, goes in and checks its home, goes back and out, and I'll stay there. Toward the 9th month, it'll stay a bit longer, and it's still adjusting things, telepathically communicating with the mother. My mother, I remember, it was so interesting. I had a past life regression once, and I was in the womb, and I said to my mother, stop that. You're hurt. You're going to hurt us. She was a smoker. And it was 1950s, and she was a smoker. And then she had drinks, and I was like, oh, and I remember it like really toxic, like a really metal feeling. Like, you're hurting us. So that was really interesting. And then
Did she listen?
No. And I ended up with a heart murmur when I was born, and my brother ended up with a heart murmur when he was born. They associate a lot of that with the drinking or the smoking. That's really very interesting. So that soul has to go from a multi-sensory world to this very limited world. And what happens is we go through what's called the valley of forgetfulness. So as before we come into the body, it's called the valley of forgetfulness. It's like a clean slate. We don't remember anything from the past. And we start off this new life with a clean slate. That being said, there are moments, I think, in one's life where something goes, the opening, a crack happens. Like, oh, I remember that, or I used to live there, or I know this person, I feel this energy. So that does happen. So anyway, that's what it's about. And the reason they do that is because if somebody came back and had total awareness of things they did in past lives, right? If they hurt somebody, if they did something in a war or whatever, they'd be so obsessed in this lifetime to resolve that, to heal that, that they wouldn't do the lessons for their soul in this time around.
So can you, and I've had a glimpse. I remember going down, I went to a Nobel Peace Prize summit in Yucatan, and I was down on these, they call it ruins, but they're anything but ruins. Um, um, oh my gosh, I'm spacing the name of the people down there. Forgive me, everybody. The name will come to me. I'm saying one is to say it's not the Aztec, the Mayans. I'm going, it's with an M. I went on top of a Mayan pyramid that was just fairly closed off. You could get to the top, but you weren't doing anything illegal. And
Where
I
was
sat
this?
there,
Where was this, Michael?
Yucatan. It was
Yucatan.
east of oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget all of my names right now.
That's okay. We're with you.
Halfway across the Yucatan.
Okay.
And I sat on top of this pyramid and I looked out before me and I said, I've been here before. And it was just a very clear knowing. The tears started flowing. I didn't have any memories or anything. There wasn't any, and then I went around to these cenotes. Maybe you've seen the cenotes too. These limestone caverns. And I've had dreams of the cenotes, of going down into the caverns and swimming and popping out in the ocean, which it turns out there are these tunnels and that is actually theoretically doable. And I'm like, wow, I get it. So these memories, these glimpses are there. The question is, how can we use? So you're living here, but you're also living in Nazi Germany, and we're living. I see lives as all stacked together as one. A deck of cards where we see them spread out, 52 cards. I see them all together as one.
That's a cool symbol. That's a cool way of looking at it. I like that.
So, thank you. So if you're living both of these lives simultaneously,
or several lives at once.
Okay, I'll take many lives,
Yeah,
an infinitude of lives, if we're honest.
Many lives, many masters. Yeah, definitely. Many different lives all at the same time, which is really interesting because well, this is our soul. No, this is a little part of our soul. So this is the big, I call this the big toe to the soul. So I often say, 70% of your soul is outside here. Only 30 is here. So it's a big toe to the soul. So if you really want to experience what that's like, just imagine that you're standing with like a light body or another body with your feet on your shoulders reaching up. And that's really what it's about. This is just like a root. This is just a small part of our soul. So don't give so much attention to the human part of you, but pay attention to all that. And with the mind is the soul is the mind. So when you clear up your mind and bring love in the mind and awareness, you're opening up the mind, the soul, and all those different levels. That's what's going on.
So can we create a feedback loop? We've got you here. We've got you. Feedback loop. We've got you here. We've got you going, Heil, I can't say that anymore. Can you send love to or through that person to that timeline and have it bounce back and affect you here?
I do that. Yes, I think I do that anyway. But we cannot change certain things. In that, if I came back to that Nazi Germany lifetime, now that's a really weird one, right? So Nazi Germany, I've always been fascinated, and then I found it, and it's like, oof. And I went, did I kill my family? Because 50 of my family died in Auschwitz. So like, was I the one that did that? And then can I change that around? I don't know if I can change that around. There are certain things I don't think you can change. Certainly emotional parts of it you can change things there, but I don't think you can change things that were done in a physical level. Just don't think. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. But emotionally, yes. And you can forgive your past and you forgive your future. Now, how do you do that? By living in the present moment in love, loving this present moment, and that'll bleed out to all the rest of you. So if the soul is the mind is the soul, bring that love to your mind self and really working at living in a space of complete love, living in a space of unconditional love, non-judgment, right? And realizing that we're here as beacons of light to bring awareness to that person and love them for where they're at. Don't try to change people. Don't let people try to change you. You are just who you are, and just bring love. And if you want to change, you're first going to be loving, aware, be willing to change, be willing to accept things in a way, as they are to a point, but you are the one that is going to bring, don't waste your time here on this earth. really, especially now in these moments, are great opportunities. I always see them as opportunities for growth, awareness, new insights, new ways of being. So maybe these situations these days in our world, in this world, forces us to really look at things in a different way and to bring an understanding or love or light. I always say light with illumination. It lights the darkness. So I think on a higher level, we do that. We can do that. Even when there's someone in your family or friends that you feel like, I need to forgive them. I often say to my clients, don't you have to call them, but send it on a higher level, heal them on a higher level, the higher self, send healing and love that way. And it'll eventually permeate down to the lower self. So there you go. The mind is very powerful.
Earlier you said that we chose, and then you laughed. We
Yeah,
chose to be
we
here at
chose
this
it.
time.
It's not a
And I,
punishment. It is not a punishment. So we don't want to go there. It's just not a punishment. That doesn't happen. It's an
why
understanding.
now? Why did we choose? We hear the shift, the awakening, the this, the that, but why now? Because I have so many people in the audience who are going to be in the chat going, I did not choose this.
Sorry, that's from a physical point of view. So this is very interesting to look at it from a different way. I mean, there's no one finite answer, but we can also say that the things in life, the situations in life, and the scenarios in life, and the people in our lives that are the hardest ones, the hardest people to get along with, the hardest scenarios, the hardest things that are going on, are reserved for the evolved beings, for evolved, for advanced souls. That's really what it's about. So we've come back here, and honestly, I do believe we've come back here to help others, you and I and other light workers. I help others to wake up or illuminate. I mean, I think we're more aware in some ways, but I think our jobs, or light workers here, are to bring others open and to wake them up. And I think that's what's happening at this particular moment, at this particular time, because all the aspects are here to do that. And I think it's a bigger connection of that, or creation of that in another level, if you will, that we humans can't fully understand. I almost say like everything spiritually is divinely timed. I don't think anything's by accident. The biggest problem I think here in this three-dimensional world is we can't see everything. We just see it's like watching a play. The curtain opens, there's a stage playing, you see it, but you don't know what's going on behind it. You don't know behind the stage what's happening, who's pulling what one rope, the scenery here. We don't know behind the scenes, and we really have to have kind of faith. That, and the best way to do it is to know yourself, is to get to know, who am I as a soul self. I can't really control all around me, but I certainly control inside me and how I feel and where I place my thoughts and where I place my mind. That I can control. I can't control government per se, but I control what's going on here.
Has with all your connections on the other side,
No,
has
all of
what
them. I mean, I have tons.
have they
So
been
many.
singing? Have they been singing a different tune lately? And if so, how or when did things shift?
Well, it's very funny because it's so interesting. I don't know how to put it to you because it might be hard to understand certain things. In that, when I speak to them, Tuesday evening, I was getting a massage and they came around me, all these beings, and it never happened like this. Yeah, my brother who had passed was over there, and he kind of opened up the whole space for everybody. And I saw old friends of 30 years ago. I saw old father-in-law, mother-in-law, all these people. It was like, wow. And they all came to celebrate, and they're in a state of oneness, a state of joy, happiness, and joy. There was
This is a
nothing.
great massage.
Great massage is when you can totally relax. I think you and I talked about that, getting massage, and I do it once a week. You like to do, and I just totally, and I don't even attempt or to be active. I just close my eyes and whatever. And the guy I'm working, he's such a healer. He just goes to where the energy's stuck, and and I'm very aware of this. But it goes also, Michael, to many years in my development circle. I used to sit in development circle for mediumship for 7 years in the quiet, right? So they could work on the energetic body and work on the fields of energy around me. But it was really a sense of they weren't upset about anything going on here. It was like, that's just a small part of it. There's so many other worlds, so many other spaces, and they were just kind of beyond it. This is just hard school down here. This physical world's a hard place, but you'll get through it. Because number one, there's no death, but it's certainly a great time to teach people. It's an opportunity for people to know who they are. It's gonna wake up a lot of people. So somebody got to shake up the cage a little bit to get them out there. That's
So you talk, and so I hear it from so many spiritual teachers.
Wait,
and
second. Michael, excuse me 1 second. It's like a lot of people are afraid of death. They can build this up and build this up. They're so fearful of death, fearful of There's nothing to fear of death. There is no such thing as death. You just pop out of the body. So we got to remember that there's nothing that's going to hurt us. Might appear in a way like it's bad, it's violent, and so forth, but we can never be hurt, never be harmed when there's no death. And whatever that means to everybody, I just want to throw that out there.
And at the same time, we want to get our generator. I call this the prudence. We are spiritual beings and prudent beings.
We can do things here on this physical earth to help ourselves live here. For instance, getting paper towels and toilet paper and water, and we can prepare for those things. They don't have to freak us out, right? So we shouldn't have in a space of like, oh my God, it's going to happen. No, just be ready for whatever happens. And listen, I was getting to do all this stuff like 2 years, 3 years ago, just to have things if ever something happened. And but I wouldn't freak out about it. It's going to be what it's going to be. I don't think people should freak out. We don't want to put that energy in the ethers either, you know.
Totally agree. What are destiny points, and what does that have to do with both the timeline of an individual and the timeline, I'm going to say, destiny points for the US or for all of humanity?
Don't limit yourself to the US. Yeah.
I said all of humanity. I'm not limiting. Our audience is truly worldwide, and I spent half of the year this year in Canada, in Quebec. So there's no limit here.
Love Canada and the people there. So destiny points for the worlds or this world? Okay. Okay.
Wherever you want to go.
Okay. Well, we might understand destiny points in another galaxy or another space of living. So it might be a whole different game. Which I think
in silicon beings versus carbon-based life form.
Versus the lizards and reptiles. Okay. So there you go. So
oh God, the chat is going to go crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's so all out there. We got to bring it into people to comprehend it all. So, and that's always been the hardest part of doing work in metaphysical work, as you know. It's these concepts, and for me as a medium, having the realizations of things. And as a medium, I really put myself out there as far as exploring. And I call it the art of discovery. What else is that? What is it? That I can understand in my humanness, because so much out of the human. But destiny points is very interesting, because if we think of this earth as a schoolroom for the soul, which it is, this earth is our schoolroom for the soul. We grow, we expand, we go through tests here. And there are some tests we pass and some we don't pass. Some tests might be about compassion, forgiveness, understanding, judgment, violence, whatever it might be. We try to pass them at the end of our life. We go to the other vibration. We have a life review, and we look back and see all the tests we passed and those we didn't. But before we come back into this incarnation, we sit with our guides, our teachers, our team, the enlightened ones, whatever name you want to call them, the label, and they work out with you what is the most opportune time for you to come back for your soul's growth, for your group soul's growth, right? For other people around you that there's a influence with, and there'll be certain destiny points or courses that you take. So you put out your curriculum that you're going to take, and there are certain things you must learn in this lifetime. Maybe the subject might be addiction. Maybe the subject might be patience. So all these different types of experience will happen. They're destined to happen because it's on your chart, it's on your curriculum. Now, let's make it easy to understand. So there might be a destiny point in that you're meant to meet a certain person. You're meant to meet that person. Let's say you meet them for a cup of coffee. So you're destined to meet them, this cup of coffee. And what happens after that is free will. So you can choose your free will to have a great long friendship or just a cup of coffee and move on. So that's where free will plays in. And I often use the analogy that, you're walking down this field or in the forest, down this pathway, and you see a little lake on the side. So you go down, you hang out at the lake, and eventually you'll go back to the pathway. And to me, you're destined to walk down that path. Your free will is to go down to the lake and spend as much time as you want, but eventually you're going to have to go back to that path. There'll be an inner feeling of, I got to get back on that path. That's the same, I think, as destiny points. So for the human, for the soul. Now, the US, if you will, they're different countries that have karma, right? And that's what's happening with the US right now, the karmic. And it's also destiny points that we go through certain things. Because remember, it's all about, we want to talk about karma, the action and reaction of everything. What you give out, you get back. It's just natural law. And so there might be situations that in the past history of this country, in the linear time, that certain things were done. And now it's coming back to I don't like the expression, but come back to haunt us. Yeah, coming back to us, because we got to
coming back to heal us.
Come back to heal us. There you go. Not haunt us, heal us, right? Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly what's happening. So those are destiny points of the country. I think on this earth level, I do think there are also, in a global, international way, there are certain destiny points that we'll all go through. I mean, the 1920s, the Depression, there are certain things that are happening. I think that right now, warming, global warming is a destiny point for the whole planet. And we got to wake up and do something about that. So I think that's one destiny point. There are a lot of different destiny points, about getting electricity and about the car, and they're all different types of the technician, the technical, computer age, and so it's a lot of different destiny points.
Thank you. I want to go from here. I can't believe. So I have all these for everybody. I have this list of questions, and I know with you it's best to just throw them out. But I do have a list of questions.
Throw them out in the garbage. I'll come up with new ones.
And then I know that questions are going to chase me down. And I can't believe this next question that's going that has.
We can do this another time too, not just.
Yeah. So I can't believe this question that has just chased me down.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out how to put this in the most polite way possible, which is people are going, just spit it out. Okay. I want to hear about the different realms on the other side of the veil, or I can call it the different realms in heaven, whatever we want to define that. Okay. And going back to World War II. Where is or was or where did Hitler land?
Okay, you're being very limited. How can you limit spirit? So from the human point of view, which is what you're asking this question from a human point of view, it's funny. I have a lot of students when I do, physical workshop, if you will, and they'll ask these questions. Say, "Oh, that's so human of you,"
I wear my meat suit well.
So in the Bible, which is, I don't really refer to religion much because I'm not into religion, but I think all religions have bits of the truth. Not any one religion is all the truth. And to me, really the truth is about love. And I think that but there are certain, references that are made. And like, for instance, the Bible says, my father has a house with many mansions. And I believe that's a good way to describe it. That in the spirit level, from my understanding of working 40 years in this world, that there are many, many spaces, spheres, worlds within worlds within worlds. And so just like the other night when I was getting a massage and things were happening, I asked my friend Olivia, who used to sit in the development circle with me, where are you now? And she's always been kind of like a curiosity, intellectual person, philosophy, going into different places. And she said, well, that's very interesting, James. I'm in a space or spaces, she said, where there are experts in philosophy and understanding things from a higher point of view. So she's going to these schools on higher planes of existence that explain these, that have experts and they explain these things. Now we're talking here, we got to comprehend this in our human self. So it's a little bit harder because we got to use a human reference. But I know that it was affecting her mind and she loved learning and so forth. So there's that. And my brother came through and I said, so where's mom and our aunts? He goes, they live in communities. They live in certain communities. They're all different communities over here. And when they live in is they're helping young women. Two of our aunts and her mother are helping young women. Then our sister is learning how to dance. I said, oh, is she? Yeah. She's to a place that she goes back to school, which a lot of them go back to school, and she's learning creativity. And I said, what about your ex-wife who's over there? And he said, she's learning how to be a parent. So there's all this sense when you pass over that those aspects of your soul that perhaps you didn't succeed in fully acknowledging them or living them out in this time, you're able to do that on the other side of life, in the different spheres, different places, different spaces. On the other side, when you first get there, there's what we call the astral world, which is an exact replica of our world. There are houses and trees and lakes and grass and gardens and you can anything you want there. And there are lovely buildings. And most people are brought over to their mother's house when they first pass over, and that is only done for the acclimation to get used to the new lifestyle. And as soon as that's done, that soul doesn't need it anymore, so that's gone, right? And we create things by our thoughts. So, for instance, there's a young man that passed over. He was on his way to meet a date in his car, and he's driving the car, and all of a sudden, he's like, he finds himself like blacked out a little bit, and then he's looking down at his car, and an ambulance, and his ambulance, as paramedics are putting his body into this ambulance, and it goes, oh, that poor guy. And he's like, what that looks like my car. And he didn't understand it. And then he heard his grandfather from the spirit come to him and said, Christopher, you've passed. That's your body down there. And he goes, I'm wearing the same clothes. What are you talking about? He goes, because your memory has you wearing those clothes, but you've just left the body, and that's what's going on around you. And the grandfather helped him with this acclimation, get used to it. And he brings him over there, and it's just so hard for him to believe it. But he said, but I didn't finish school. I didn't finish what I wanted to do. And he said, oh, here will be ample opportunities and places to do that. So even when you're a family and you pass over, you go to do what your highest calling is, right? So for instance, someone want to learn more about music. They go to a sphere of music, right? They want to be mothers of children. They weren't able to do that here. They will go over there and be mothers to help children who die as babies. They're all different. Anything you want on the other side, you can have it. And there are places where another friend of mine just passed over 3 months ago, and he was very much an Air Force pilot. And he's where, believe it or not, he's studying stuff about military. So I think that felt so weird, but he's learning the intricacies about planes that we use here and different modes of transportation. That's all I can say. I don't know what other kind of transportation, but he's learning all about that. Something that really stimulates your mind and that you weren't able to accomplish here or do here. When I go over there, I'll be playing the piano. I always want to play the piano here, but didn't have time. But over there, I'll be able to. And there's no time.
There is still time, James. There is still time.
Still time. Yes, there's always time. So, and that's really true. So it's many, many things over there. And this is another interesting thing. I wrote about this in one of my books, that there are beings. Oh, I have a couple of stories to tell you. I think you'll freak out, which I think is good. I like to watch you freak out. So one of the things I remember early on, I wrote this in the second or third book, was that there are many of those beings, philosophers, teachers, inspirers, from the higher planes, who come to halls of government, the UN. And they're there, they're like the team, they're like guides, and they inspire all the lawmakers. And same thing, by the way, I know they're around us and all different courts and all different municipalities and so forth, that there are those beings in the spirit world trying to inspire those ones in the physical. Now, this is very interesting. I was first doing I don't know if we ever talked about this. I did a TV show called The Beyond Show. It was my show in the 2000s. And it was the night before I was going to go film it in LA. And I remember I was, I had a little argument with a friend of mine. And I went to bed and I was kind of pissed. And I had a shot of tequila. And I was never drinking tequila. So I'm going to sleep, falling asleep. And then I'm aware that there's this being standing at the end of the bed. I'm like, huh? And I'm just like, I'm such a New Yorker. I'm sitting in New York like, huh? What? Is that someone standing there? And I could see, it was like, are you Abraham Lincoln? And the being said, that is a personality you would know me by. But I am here to tell you that we, and a bunch of beings, I want to say they look like lights in bodies.
I'm having an Ooga Booga moment because Magda, who helps with bookings and helps me prepare for shows, she said, ask him about, I don't remember what the exact word is. And I wrote down in my notes, Washington and Lincoln, for you to tap into the spirits. And here we are without me even asking you, and you've gone there.
I'm a professional. Yeah.
Oh
But obviously,
God.
it's in the ethers to talk about it, to share with everybody. So I was aware of this being saying, that's a personality known by. We are of the new order. Now, I think that was the word that he used. We are the new order. And we are here to help you change the consciousness, to change people, to inspire people. We are here to do that with you, with my TV show, right? With that show. And I'm like, Scott, are you really Abraham Lincoln? What are you? And he would like, it was weird because the group felt like it moved to the side of the room. And I'm like, still in my head, like, you really Abraham Lincoln? And yes. I said, well, I need proof. I need proof. So if I have proof, I'll definitely be mindful and open and receive this. But I do need proof. Very skeptical. So that was the end. He said, you'll have your proof. Now, it wasn't, I got to say to you, I got to really push that it wasn't just Abraham Lincoln personality. It was like he said to me, that is how you would know me by. But I do believe I was in the world, that was in the Civil War, and I do think I knew him then. But I also feel there was a groupings of people here, right? So the next morning, I wake up to a phone ringing, a fax machine, if you remember the fax machines, right? So it was a fax machine, and it was the end of a chapter I was doing on a book. And the writer I was working with, the editor, she wrote down certain questions because she worked with me for a long time, and she answered them. And like difference between a psychic and a medium, or this, what happens at death, whatever it might be. And she did say, there was one question she wrote up, and she said, do we see our death before it happens? And her response was, and I'm standing there reading this, yes, we do. Sometimes we get precognition of certain scenes before death, very much like the famous Abraham Lincoln scene where he was seeing his body in Capitol with the soldiers all around it. And I'm like, what? And I threw it away. Oh my God. And then that evening, I was writing out checks on my table, and my wallet fell onto the floor. And I looked down, and a $5 bill is coming out of it with Abraham Lincoln's face. From that day on, for 2 years, every single day, there was a reference to Abraham Lincoln. Whether it's I go on stage and there's a penny, or I'm driving and there's a Lincoln Insurance, or I look up and there's a billboard about Lincoln, or someone speaks about Lincoln, every single day for 2 years. So I was like, okay, get it. Isn't that wild?
So what was he trying to tell you?
That they're with me to help change change the consciousness, to help inspire people, and that you are never doing it alone. And we should all know that we never do this alone. We're never alone on this planet. Even though you don't see them, your team is working with you. So you're it's like a team, and you're kind of forefront because you're in the human body, and you're the spokesperson for your team. So the more one takes time to go into their soul self and start listening to that quiet place, you'll be able to connect with your guides, your team mates better, and bring through that group message.
Thank you. So
thank you. I never said that before.
So let's double back. We're going to the spheres. We're going to houses and levels. We're going to Hitler, and we're going to past life reviews, all lumped in together as one.
Yeah, and also you talk about the Hitler thing, but there are other tragedies that happen all the time, all through Africa, and still to this day. So not one is better than the other. But the thing with that Hitler or whatever, even cults, I really have a hard time with that. And the reason why I have a hard time with that is because the human gives up their minds. They give up their mind to this cult because they can't think of themselves. That to me is a big, big sin, and it's such a wasted opportunity for the soul, because we are here with free will. We are here to honor who we are. And when you give up that responsibility, just follow another way, oh, that's the way I got to do it, you're giving up your free choice. You're giving up your sense of individuality. And each individual here is really important. It's like each star is a unique, like a snowflake. Each snowflake is a different combination. Same thing with our soul. So we should never give up who we are to a cult. I just gotta tell you that. That's what I feel.
I want to go back to the original question. However, we'll get there.
Okay.
At a time where it seems to me, I call 2025 the year of amplification. Whatever you got going on, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're working on or not working on, whether you're waking up or going to sleep, there will be more of that. Do you feel that more of us are going cult-like and losing are giving away the keys to the driver's seat of our soul?
I think there'll be some people that find it easier to do that as times progress in this year. I think there's some people that give up. I think there'll be other people that'll be changing completely and kind of within them force themselves to wake up and seeing the world in a new way and themselves in a new way and doing things in a very different way. So I think there'll be a little combination of both. It's so much easier just to say, oh, screw it, and just give it up and let someone else do other work. It's a great opportunity for us to start working, to have a relationship with ourselves, and make changes not only in our lives, but other people's lives. And the first way to make a change outside is on the inside. So you first got to change your point of view, your perspective, things that you do, and live by example to others. Show them that it is possible. This is possible to live this way. It is possible to be loved. It is possible to find love throughout your life. It is possible to be a happy person and be joyful. Every day I go out in this world, and I every single time I'm aware of the moments, whether it's in a parking lot, I go to Petco or Target or whatever, and I'm aware of other humans, and I'm aware these are all opportunities to change things up. So I will send a smile. I'll say, how are you today? I just do a little kindness because everybody needs validation. I think people have forgotten that. I really do. And I make it my job to remind people we're connected. So if I'm in a cash register with someone and the cashier is, I'm not going to say, but younger generation maybe, who are not used to engaging, I will stop them. Say, oh yeah, it's $5.25, $5.25. And I'll say, okay. I say, and if they're not looking at me, so
you get their chin.
I love your eyes. I say, I love your eyes. And they go, huh? I said, oh, there they are. I knew you had lovely eyes. And they're like, huh? And it shakes them. And I say it in a way where it shakes them, but also they're aware that they're not connecting. And I think that's really important that we continue doing that, especially with technology and devices. You know, when I was in Japan probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I'll never forget when I was walking around Tokyo and everyone looked down, looking at these devices. I'm like, what are they doing? This is so strange. They're going to hurt their necks. And they were all doing it. I thought, oh my gosh. And now in America and around the world, they're all like doing that. So, and that letting devices rule their lives. Like, so I change that up as best as I can. That's for me an opportunity to change in little ways. So I think those little ripple effects really will help. And maybe that person will go realize, oh, I should connect more, and maybe turn to a coworker and say hi, and whatever it might be. We don't get caught up with the outcome. We just got to be caught up with what we're doing in the moment with it.
Thank you. So I'm going to go back to the original
The original
question
question,
here.
which I don't remember. Yeah.
Let's say that there is an individual, and we're going to say that the individual in the meet to this lifetime is doing a lot of harm. And let's say that we're going to call this individual for the moment Hitler. And this individual then
Obviously has some
transitions.
unresolved issues with Hitler, but go on.
This individual transitions, and yes, I lost a lot of my family as
Yeah.
well.
But wait, when you say that, because I did too. So think of it this way. What about if those souls chose that life? So they chose to be.
And were they were elevated souls? Were they higher level souls?
Exactly. So maybe they were advanced souls, and by their sacrifice, they're martyring themselves to help other human beings of this race to evolve, to teach you about what hate is, what violence is, what judgment is. Maybe that's that. And I do think that that's exactly what it was. I think advanced souls took on. Many advanced souls will take on those atrocities and things like that. They do.
So off track and on track, are there then more advanced souls now? And maybe everybody listening here, because we are tuned into this, is a more advanced, not judging. We've got to get away from that judgment. That's a very human thing. I am better than
Judgment limits the soul. Judgment limits the soul. Judgment is fear-based, and fear is only of this three-dimensional world. There's no fear in the spirit levels. It's only on this earth. So fear, false ego appearing real. And it's really when we judge others, we're doing it because we're fearful of they're better than I am. So if I put them down, I'll feel better, right? So continue.
But there are more, we as a group listening to this or here on Earth at this time, there are more advanced souls going through this time.
Let's stop right there. Let me go back to your original question. I'm just joking. So
we'll get back there. This is going to be the Hitler show. Forgive me, everybody.
We always live in the moment. So think of it this way, that what right now you and I are doing on this, and many other millions of other people, that we're coming together to talk about spiritual things, right, if you will. And there are people that will listen to this. And why are they listening? Well, the reason why they're listening is because they're attracted to it. So there's a magnetism. So whether it's a book, whether it's a show, whether it's my school, which I have so many courses, I always tell my students, the reason why you're attracted to this, because you resonate with that vibration. So as you create this show, this podcast, and you with together, it's like attracts like. You're bringing a space to magnetize those souls on the understanding level, because they're on the same level. And there might be some that are drawn here, they heard about it, someone told them about it, they'd never been before, but once they get here, like, oh wow, I find this really interesting. So they're giving them an opportunity to open up and grow and to question things, right? So it's opening that space that you're creating, the podcast, like I do with my school. It's opening up the space for people to, how can I say it, find their tribe. One thing in my JVP school that I have is something I never expected when I created this 6 years ago. I say to my students, gosh, this becomes such a community. And I never expected community because it's like-minded people. And so you're opening up the space to like-minded people. And they all say, it's such a great place to be with other people that think I do.
That's our School of Mystics. We have a half an hour thing before class where everybody gets together. And I'm like, what do we call this thing? And somebody said, family time. I'm like, perfect. That's what you're building. That's what I'm building. And I believe that becomes contagious in a very good way.
It expands because it's, in a weird way, and don't take this the wrong way, everyone listening. I know Michael won't, but it's because it's the way people are ready for it. It's the way it should be because we're acknowledging our soul self, that we're more than just this human. There's more to us than just, meets the eye. And we're acknowledging that. And people have intuition, people have feeling, people sense things. And this is a space people can come to feel safe. Oh my gosh, this is my word, this is my language here. These are my tribe, my people. I understand this. So that's what we're doing by doing our works. And then the lucky part is if you meet somebody like you and me, and you realize that you're very similar, that you're doing the same thing in different ways, it's great because it's the same thing, and you're doing it for the same reasons.
Woohoo! All right. I'm not going to mention names in the original question again. We've used that name a lot.
And I know the person has an H. Yeah.
Yeah. They go over to the other side.
Yes.
First off, tell me about
go
what
back
they're
home.
what
They go back home.
thank
Right?
you.
Yeah. Yes.
Walk me through this, and you talked about different houses. Is someone does a lot of quote unquote harm? Because this gets into the question of what's real and what's not. This is a storytelling lifetime, but I believe it really matters. What happens with that individual, and in a smaller sense, if we hurt somebody in this lifetime, what happens to us as well once we get back to the other side?
Oh boy. Okay. I wish I could read. I'm doing a TED talk, and I talk about this in my TED talk, which I wish it was around here so I could read it to you because it says it perfectly. Hold on, let me find it. It's
Take
worth
your time.
Let me
We'll
find
play
it.
elevator music.
Really, really good. Let me just see if I can find it because it's really, really.
Yep. Da, 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 da,
Da,
da,
da, da,
da, da, da, da,
da,
da,
da.
da.
Exactly what it says. I had it memorized, so I can tell you how good my memory is. All right. So, what happens is, and my TED talk is going to be about, what happens when you die. And I said, what happens when you die? Well, on a Saturday morning, while other kids were playing sports and riding bicycles outside, I was talking to dead people. You heard me, dead people. And I used to see them as a little boy all the time. I used to see spirit. And my mother said, oh, well, that runs on both sides of the family, so that's okay. So anyway, it goes into this was my ability. I came back for this sort of thing. And I said, but really, once we pass out of this realm and go back home to the spiritual levels, what happens to us? Well, we never die alone. There's always people meeting us, being with us, and we receive them. And I talk about my friend Olivia who passed over. And Olivia, I said for many years, and it was called a development circle, developing our mediumistic abilities by sitting in the quiet, like I did for 7 years in the quiet, not giving one message out, but to build the energy, if you will, the power to and sensitize myself and letting my team work with me. So when Olivia and I had a pact, when whoever passes over first would come back and share what the experience was like. I have to. So she went first, and I'm driving my car down the street, and I see her face. I'm like, "Did you die?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm not the dead one. You are." I was like, "Oh, thanks." So I got back to my office. I said, "Show me what it was like," and she showed me. And it was like she was a British lady. And she goes, well, it was very strange. It was like I walked into a movie theater and I walked into the screen. And she said, I looked back at the audience and they're all stone-faced people. They're like dead people. And she goes, as I walked into the screen, it was so beautiful. All the flowers were growing before me and these beautiful scents were coming out. And melodic tunes matched exactly what the fragrance was, what the color was. And they were all around me. And she said it was pure life happening. And she said, and then I was met not only by my family members, but I was met by a woman who came to me and she thanked me. And I looked into her eyes, like, what do I know you from? And so it came back to me that once, many, many years ago, 35, 40 years ago, I opened a door for this lady and helped her with a package. And that was all I did. And she came back to say thank you. And then a gentleman shows up. And I said to him, he smiled and he said, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for, she once bought him a cup of coffee. And that was the only experience I had. And he said, that was such a nice act of kindness. And it seems that those acts of kindness, everything we do is recorded. Say recorded. It's in the ethers. It's how these people want to come back and thank us for those little acts of kindness. And that was her experience. Now, so we all go through what's called a life review. And we become aware of everything we did, said, and acted out. So another description I use in a story, I once did a reading for a woman, and her son came through, and he was very upset. And I said, well, he tells his mom, Mom, I'm living in my own living hell. And she said, well, what does that mean? Well, he robbed a Circle K supermarket once, so he tried robbing it, and he showed me this whole thing. He held the gun to the person at the cash register, and she gave all the money into a bag, and he took it. And he was running out and the money falls on the floor and he just ran out. And when he relived this in his life review, he became aware of the cashier lady, the woman. He became her. He became aware of all of her frightening feeling, her sense of upset and fear and trauma. And then he became aware of the coworker who had the trauma and fear, and then became where the lady's family that should go home to and tell what happened and felt all their fear. So like he became them. So you feel these things like 10 times, 20 times, 30 times stronger. You'll feel the other person's fear and trauma because we're all connected as one. So what did you put out to that person? You know, we're all creators, and the energy you put out is what you're going to get back. So like the love you make is what you're going to get, the love received. So he had to go through that hell, right? Because he had to feel, sense, be part of everything. And there is no time over there. So it was all this, remember, it's a very mental world. Here we live in a physical world, but there's a very mental world. So all you have are your mental thoughts, things that you think about, things that you left. So the power of thought in our world here, power of word, how we act, it's really, really real. And every word has a power. Every word has a design. Every act has a design to it. You know, everything we think, every thought is real. There are colors to it. There are fragments to it. And we see how it affects another person and in turn affects us. So that in turn, you know, this poor man was really in his own hell. Like he created, reliving this over and over again. And he couldn't say, I'm sorry to these people because he was in the spirit world. He wasn't on the earth. So a lot of people that pass over, when we talk about hell or purgatory, it is that. It's because they can't get back to their loved ones and say, I'm sorry. When they have a medium and that comes through, which would happen to many people with me, I might be the conduit for forgiveness of that person. Now I asked this boy, I said, so then what happened as far as being like in this hell state? Like, how did you escape it? What happened? And he said, well, James, I didn't have my whole life in a bad way. I actually had some good things in life. And I was a loving person when I was a young boy. I just got into bad circumstances. So I really was, my team told me to focus on the positive things that I left the world with. And he goes, and that's what released me. And then over here, I'm helping people. I'm helping people because I need to, as a repentance in a way. I'm helping other people. I'm helping people to come over and say, who are criminals. And I said, wow. It was because I would understand their mindset. I said, that makes a lot of sense. So there's always sense of forgiveness. There's always sense of, you know, no one's perfect. When we walk around, so we get mud on our shoes, the mud stays on that shoe for a long time. We can concentrate on that, but oh, it got us through the walk we're going through. So I just think that the more energy we give something, the more it amplifies and grows. And I think that, who knows with that, the person of name we'll speak about, but perhaps there was something in their childhood that messed them up. Maybe they came back to this earth and they were all crazed, you know, mentally, their mental body wasn't evolved. And maybe it was just an unevolved soul who said, you know, I just got to do this, because there are many, many different levels of souls that come back to this school. Baby souls, like that person was, and like other people now. And there are postgraduate souls, like you are, I am, light workers, show compassion and demonstrate healing and understanding and patience. And they're the middle souls, still trying to figure things out a little bit here and there. So I look at it like that. And I always say to people, if you can't forgive another, then you're just as bad as they are, because you're bringing yourself down to their level.
So let's hypothetically say.
And so I'm sure you've done really horrible things. I'm sure I've done really horrible things in other lifetimes. But it's also how we grow. If the polarity of it. So we did just all good things all the time, we wouldn't understand the negative parts of things. If we call that negative, we have to understand both sides of the coin. So, all right. Sorry to cut you off.
No, and I've seen past lifetimes where I have, and it makes me
we wouldn't
wonder
be where we are right now, being spiritual teachers, without doing those other things.
Let's say that there's this hypothetical unevolved soul who does all these things, and then I wonder if they're stuck, and I've heard maybe stuck because there's so much stuff that gets to be gone through that they have a hard time coming up out of it. Can we? And is it? To me, on one level, I can do it, and other people are going, but can we send love? Can we use the power of love to help evolve all of consciousness by sending it to the very person or persons, both here on earth and on the other side, that we would least consciously, with the thinking mind, choose to do so?
Yes. So I think of, is it Star Wars, the saber light? Is that what we call a saber?
Lightsaber, yes.
Lightsaber. So I think that we all have that, right? So I think if we pointed at someone, imagine they're asleep, and you go, shh, and it illuminates them, like, oh, it lights up their heart, and they're like suddenly animated. We all have that power to do that, right? And I think it's the right thing to do. Again, so I'm going to talk about Hitler just because that's on your mind. So the thing is interesting, because how do we not know? Anything's possible. I don't like to have anything like limited. How do we not know that in the grand scheme of things, that people didn't create that individual, that soul chose to go through that, to be that, to teach people. Horrible as it is, but maybe, you know what I'm saying? Because we always put human traits on things. Maybe it's bigger than that. We can't, say it was what he did was good, because it was not. But I don't know what the background is with that whole thing, right? I just know that love is love, hate is hate, and that we beg that. That's amazing.
It's the next question I have right in
Hey,
front
wait,
of me.
I have to answer the last
on the
one.
screen.
Oh, wait, I have to answer one more, because you mentioned.
Well, this is it. What you're saying, you first. But I want to say that we are unparalleled. You are answering the question that I have written down before I even have a chance to read it.
Who do you think you're interviewing? I'm a psychic, for God's sake. So, because we're on the same level. So interesting enough, another client of mine, this is years ago when I was doing private readings, and she came to me and I said, your grandmother is coming in. She was a grandmother, I think it was a grandmother, an aunt or something. And she goes, yes. And I said, she's telling me about her life after death. And I said, wow, this is very interesting. She goes, what? I said, well, a guide of hers took her to different spaces and places when she passed over. And I said, and that's common. They'll bring them to different atmospheres, regions, and show them at different levels, if you will. And I said, that makes sense. But he brought her to a hospital. And she goes, yes, it was a hospital I went to. It looked like a hospital, not like the earth hospitals, but it was a place where souls go to rest, souls that have not awakened yet. Like, well, that's interesting. And she literally showed me, clairvoyantly, she showed me the grandmother going to this room with one of her guides, just one being, not many, just one, and going to this room. And there's a person lying down in the bed. And she looks at the face, and the guide says to her, you're the only one that can wake him up. And she said, oh my God, that's the man that killed me in Auschwitz. And he was sleeping until, and she just had to say, I forgive you. And she did, and he woke up. So that goes back to your thing.
Thank you.
So that take the higher road less traveled. And it teaches them that forgiveness is always possible. So that soul is different now.
And I think it shifts all of us. It
does. It shifts all of us. We're all connected. We're all one wave, right?
Well, and that's important to understand. There is no, you see that person, that person is, like you say, a wave, perfect, a continuation of us. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything harmful.
So the two biggest illusions we have in the three-dimensional world, one is death. There is no such thing. The second is separativeness. We feel like we're separate from one another. When that's not true, we're part of each other. We're connected with each other. Either they speak a different language, physically look different, from a different country. We're all connected. So what affects one person affects us all.
So the question, going back to the H character again, I do not have an H character fascination. Yes, I went to Hebrew school. Yeah. Yes, I went to Catholic school. Yes, they gave us the books and said, if you read this and you don't remember it, then you're destined to repeat it. However,
I like that.
Do the characters that appear to be marching us to darkness? You were saying this, but so you've already kind of said
whatever this, darkness is.
Yeah, whatever darkness is, are they potentially very advanced souls as well, helping to wake us up, even though it appears the exact opposite?
That's what I was saying beforehand. Exactly. That's a possibility that they're advanced souls trying to wake us up. Exactly right. And they take on this persona of negativity, of evil, and we have to go through that in order to shake us up, to wake us up. Yes. I can't say it's the absolute. I will never say absolute, but that's definitely a possibility.
Thank you. Yeah. On that note, why does it appear we're putting ourselves, if this is a path of awakening right now, and this is a path, and I want you to go there, you used the word at the beginning, awakening, enlightenment, but why does it appear that if we're on this path to awakening, enlightenment, is it that we need to play in this duality with opposites? Because it seems like we're putting ourselves on a trajectory towards grief and lots of it.
I mean, you can have whatever you think, right? You can have whatever you think. So if you are in this moment of love, that's what you're going to have, that you're experience. It's so up to experience grief and anger and upsetment and war and all that. They will. So some of us come back to experience those things. It's just learning. It's another subject. It could be an advanced subject, right? War, I think it is. But also it's a great opportunity to learn about healing, to help people. What a great opportunity to help people, learn to teach compassion. A lot of great things happen during wartime. A lot of great things happen during dis-ease. A lot of things happen, like the hurricanes we have in our country. people, great people, go and help other people out and rescue them, and there are organizations that rescue them and help them. Those are great opportunities. Also, I want to throw this into what I was talking about. Someone who's sick, someone maybe has a coma or a stroke, or they're an invalid, and their whole life they just were in control and they did things. This is an opportunity for their soul to receive. Maybe part of their arrangement is to learn to receive instead of always giving. So there is a balance in everything. It can't just be one way. There's a balance, a fullness, if you will.
Thank you. What do you tell? We're going to go. We're going to go not real world. We're going in the trenches. I don't mean World War II trenches, maybe World War I trenches, but we're going in the trenches. What do you tell people who say that makes sense on an esoteric or an energetic perspective, but I'm in a state of fear, I'm being intimidated, I'm being persecuted, my sexuality is being chased out of the country? What do we tell people as they're going through this at this time?
Well, I wouldn't jump into that. I wouldn't jump into that mindset and join the band. I just wouldn't, because you're giving them power. You're giving your power away. You're giving your power away. I would just be who I am and celebrate more of who you are. And then if you have to fight it, legislation wise, or and otherwise, I would do that. Be who you are, but don't just kowtow to these people. That situation. You gotta strike back, restrict them. It's not allowed. So however that takes place. I grew up in the 60s. I remember the World War Vietnam, and I remember the people, picketing and the riots, and I was part of that. I remember that very well. But they're stepping back, saying this is not allowed. It's going to happen in this country. You watch. It's going to happen with the Tesla, with Musk. It's going to happen. People will not be able to take that. They just won't, and they'll fight it. There's going to be talk about war. They're going to act out, because sometimes, unfortunately, people take advantage of other people, which is, I think, what's happening, and the empower people to take advantage. That's not right to do. And sometimes there's got to be an equalization. There's got to be, really, and sometimes, unfortunately, it takes a violence or an act of whatever to show this is not right. I think that's what's going to happen. So, but within yourself, and everybody's different. Like, there can be craziness all around you, but you don't have to call in that craziness. You just got to be balanced within yourself. Remember who you are. You're a loving being, and you can be that loving being, but also acknowledging, boundaries and acknowledging what's right from wrong, and speak out about it.
As we're interviewing, and I've got a good question coming up, and look at the clock, and it's 1:11.
All your questions are good.
Thank
my
you.
head's falling off my shoulders. But
well, 1:11 to me means you're in perfect alignment. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. So here on the East Coast, it's 1:11 right now.
But that's okay.
And what I'm feeling is that for people who are going through this, there's a potential to, I'm going to call it Tai Chi, this energy. Take this energy, like a great Kung Fu master, a Kung Fu panda, spin around this energy that seems to be an attack at you, turn it around in the inside, and become I'm going to call it an enlightened ascendant master because of this energy.
Exactly. Turn it around. Transmute that energy. Exactly what you're saying. Transmute that energy. So I had a friend of mine who was actually a student of mine, and he's not transgender, but he's a drag queen. And he called me up yesterday. He was really upset. He was crying. He goes, "James, I'm so upset." I said, "Why?" Because I'm doing something about him, with him. I'm trying to get something on television with him, and because I want people to see things differently. And he said that Tennessee just put a ban against drag queens. Like, what? And I said, drag queen says that's human rights. He goes, yeah. I said, well, you got to do something about that, right? And he goes, yeah, we can't let them do that. I said, so you got to turn it around, just like you're saying, and do something. And I'm sure they will. I'm sorry, not him, but the whole group of people will do something. The moment that, it's so funny, the moment that our president shut down the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts, he wanted to be the minister. There's almost about that. And because there are too many drag shows. So everybody's in drag every day. And what they did was a community down there. They all went that night and had a huge mass rally in front of the Kennedy Center. And it wasn't violent. They just did a drag show. It was all in love and peace, and it was fabulous and beautiful, and let people be themselves. So, I mean, we do things that way, a peaceful way. And yet, the word is there. They get it. And I think in some ways, Michael, that, I don't know, you know this, of course, our society has evolved in such a way that when you get situations that seem so archaic, it's like such an old thing. It's like, that doesn't match. That energy doesn't match. So it cannot sustain itself. It cannot sustain itself because the time of that has already passed. We've evolved, so we're not going to go backwards. In the humanness, if we've learned to do something, if we know that red light means stop, we're going to stop. We won't go back in and go through the red light because we've already had the experience of knowing, and that inner knowingness has become part of our soul fabric. That means there's a restriction, a stop. It's not the right thing to do, and I think that we're learning that now, but it's on a bigger level. It's a massive level. But I think it has to happen because we got to evolve. The only way we're going to evolve is to see warts and all and change from that. See what we don't want to be.
I'm just seeing the whole world. That flips that expression right on its head. The Gandhi expression: be the change, be the thing that you don't want to be in the world enough that it will create.
Want to be, right? That's true.
But if we all went out on the streets, forgive me, everybody, if we all went out in the streets and drag, the whole world would change right away.
I wouldn't mind it. I've done it before. Long time ago, but I've done it with friends of mine. With all these bodybuilders and Sears Roebuck models with bras and girdles and white hair. It was the most hysterical thing. I couldn't walk, but it was so funny. Like RuPaul said, I love RuPaul. He said, we're all in drag. No matter what we wear every day, we are just, drag is just how you express yourself. And I mean, it's really true. No matter what you're wearing, whether it's a suit or a dress, it's just that. It doesn't matter what's on the outside. It's what's on the inside. I'm working on a TV show right now, and it's all about accepting someone from the inside out, not the outside in, and looking at yourself. And if you do tend to judge somebody, why are you judging someone? What are you holding on to about yourself that needs to be healed? And it's great. So we're working on that. That needs to be brought out there for people.
What's that going to look like, and how do we do that work? Usually I have a snow globe here that has a shark on it. Sharky is my little best friend, but Sharky keeps running off with my daughter.
She's got to learn something from Sharky. Yeah.
how do we look on the inside?
Like we talked about earlier, be the change you want. It's true. Be that change, and you live by example. It's really what you have to do, is live by example. So you first have balance within yourself. Who love yourself, to their own self be true. When one has even the course that I'm doing, it's all about loving your soul, having a relationship with your soul self. And once you know your own soul and who you are, then you're able to work easier in the world around you, the worlds around you, I should say, because you know who you are, and you don't deplete your soul. You become engaged and bring your soul energy, if you will, to that experience. And that experience, to me, when you meet someone, you meet that person with your soul experience, your soul energy. And so the more you know yourself, the easier it will be. And you won't be caught up in I don't watch the news. I refuse to watch it because I don't need that negative energy in my mind. Don't need it. Life's hard enough, right? I don't like being this sort of physical vibration. It's a real limiting vibration for me. And it's just like, it doesn't feel natural to me in many ways because I deal with the other side all the time. So this is very difficult, but I do it because I have to. I'm here to do work. And, when it's time over, it'll be time over. But I'm very, very aware of, as a sensitive person, who I can be around, what situations I can be around, noises, words, and it's very interesting. And I can choose yes or no. I can choose boundaries, which we all have. We all have boundaries, and we get tracked to us in our lives what we want and what we don't want. And even families, by the way, we got to learn to be boundaries families. No, that's not allowed. Yes, it's okay. Because as a child, we first come to this world, we're very open and imaginative and so forth. But really what happens around the age of 5, 6, 7, we become programmed by the adults, by our teachers. You got to do it this way. You got to get an A in a test. And for the little child, it's probably thinking, well, that's love. They equate that with love. And if I do this, they'll love me more. And that's how we all get involved with that sense of giving away your power, trying to please, people pleaser. And people get more into that. And then they probably in their age 30, in the middle 30s, say, I don't feel good about myself. Something's not happening. And what we find out is that they've been living somebody else's life, not their life. And they'll never be happy until they live their own lives. So that's really what it's about. It's about getting back to your own soul self. And you can't please another person. What other people think of you is none of your business. You got to really be who you are.
Thank you. And you just dovetailed off the class I taught last night on this very topic. Of course, James. Can we all sit around? Do you spend time each day sitting around your soul team? And can we do something like that ourselves?
Yes. So I'm doing this course for Shift Network, right? So in the course, when I do Shift Network, I talk a lot about developing your mediumship, advanced techniques for mediumship, and really what part of that is the sitting in what I call the quiet. So every day I sit, and behind me you'll see there's a room right there, the door, and it's just a closet, a small closet. You can walk through it, but I sit there with a chair and I close it, and I'm just aware there's no noise, and I'm just aware of myself and my breath. And I do that for like 20 minutes. I just sit there, becoming aware of my breath, and I become aware of my, how can I say it to you, my soul self. I've done it for years now. So you become aware very slowly, become aware of who you are, your own soul, and you begin to amplify that sense of your soul. And the quiet is very loud, by the way, and you'll begin to sense and feel the incredibleness of who you are, and then you become aware of the fields around you, in front of you, beside you, above you, below you, and you become aware, and you expand that, and you tend to get expansion, and then you become aware of beings that are around you, your team, if you will, by just surrendering. So a lot of it is learning to be in the stillness of your being, and it's learning about surrender, which is a major part of mediumship, is surrendering, because you have to open up your mind to such a place that the spirit people or person will come by and just drop in a thought, their feeling, an emotion of them, that you're able to feel it, sense it, know it, and give it out. So the analogy I like to use is there's, let's say, a feather falling from the sky, or like, if I go out and try to grab that feather, it's going to move. But if I open up my palm straight like that, the feather has a better chance of landing right on the palm. And that's what mediumship is. It's all about stillness. And many people mix it up. I got to go to, got to evidence. It's not at all what it is. It's the opposite. If you think, I got to get a name, I got to get details, like, well, then you're not doing mediumship, because that shows me you're thinking. And when you're thinking about, I got to get a name, that means you're not a medium. A medium is a vessel. Is a vessel that is prepared to receive subtle nuances of energy, of messages, of thoughts. And that thought could be, I'm a father, and I used to wear, a corduroy jacket. I used to brown tie. I died around 72. And you can get all that when you're quiet. But if you're trying to get something, you'll never happen. So that's what I teach in my course. That's one of the main parts of my toolkit. That's part of the course.
That also sounds like better would be a judgment. But I was thinking about this when I was at the Yucatan, a Nobel Peace Prize summit. I was like, if we got everybody connected, if we got everybody plugged in, if we got everybody listening to the other side, how different would this world be?
What about if we just listen to their soul? That'd be easier than just sitting in the quiet and bringing them to soul. And I do that. I'm doing a retreat in July in Maui, just 20 people, and it's called Soul Retreat. It's in the mind, body, and spirit. And part of that, the first day of the mind, is really going in tune with what's happening in your mind space. What do you carry with you every day? What do you feel a need to carry? Whose energy is in your space? Why can't you release that? What is it giving you? What is it supporting you for? For what reason? And then I'm working with a friend, Sue White, who's a healer, and she's an incredible yoga healer. She's worked all over the world. And she's my yoga teacher. And I said, we need to do something together to help people. So she's going to then work on the body, which is different poses. And the poses, which she's done with me, it's like, wow. There are certain poses that will release trauma for certain muscles in the body that we're holding on to. So my back's never been better. My legs are great. But you see stuff coming out of you, like, oh my God. And then you got to learn to look at it and see what it's supporting you for, why you're holding on, and then let it go. And then the third day we're going to do is going to be the spirit. So intuition, contacting your loved ones, your guides, sitting in your soul self. That's all part of this retreat I'm doing in July in Maui. And it's just 20 people. So it's beautiful. With a static dance and all that sort of thing.
Ooh, and back at my home in
Maui. You should go, Michael.
Oh,
you should go. You'd love it. It's
beautiful.
Your language.
That is speaking my language. When is it?
July, middle of July, July 19th. And the details are on my website, which are Van Praagh, VANPRAAGH.com.
Beautiful. And then could you share just a brief moment about the Shift Network course you have coming out?
The Shift Network course is really advanced mediumship, my techniques for advanced mediumship. So I did a Shift Network course a couple of years ago with basic mediumship. Well, then there's advanced lessons, advanced exercises that I bring people through. And some of the exercises I do are things one would never experience, even if they've been a medium, working for medium. These things, it's a different way of looking at something. It's a different way in. It's a different way of sitting in that silent space, and it's a different way of learning from your soul. It's a soul-to-soul readings, soul-to-soul readings. So it's a fully engulfed different ways to make impactful readings and be present in it. And learn how to create authentic, I have a list right here, link between yourself and your client, and you can deliver emotional messages in depth and evidential accuracy. And also I'm going to talk a lot about the key principles of ethics and responsibility in working with people, because it's a vital part. You have people's lives in your hands, and you got to really be respectful. I think it's like a thin piece of glass, and what you can say, you can destroy them. So you can destroy people or build them up. And a job as a medium is to really build up people, not to put them down with build up. So go a whole lesson on ethics and responsibility and different ways of connecting with spirit, learning about yourself, like I said, your own soul, really having the relationship with your soul. So many people want to rush through things and get through at the end. Like, no. You can't have a spiritual bypass. You got to do the work. So the course is all about that also, like step-by-step progression, not running through it.
Thank you. And I'll have a link to that down below, and I'll put it in the chat or the pinned comments as well. Two last questions I have for you. First off, are you hopeful for the future?
No, I'm actually slitting my wrist in about a half hour.
Oh, no.
Sorry,
I'll have to speak with you on the other side.
I didn't mean to offend anybody, but I'm always hopeful. Always hope. Every day I wake up, I'm hopeful. It's hard. It's been really, really hard. As you know, just trying to get this interview together, it's been really hard. Every day has been really difficult since the very beginning of the year for me personally. But I think everybody has it, but it's because astrologically what's going on with the planets and also what's going on in the world with politics and so forth. It's a hard one, but I have to say, there's always opportunities. So the hardest things are, the more there are better opportunities. And I look at it that way. There's always an opportunity. So look at always look at the water, the glass full, half full, not half empty. I've always been like that because I always believe there's hope. Always believe there's hope. We're here to grow. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Toe to the light. Okay. So
there's always hope, no matter what it is, even in dire moments, there's always hope. I always go to I don't know where it comes from. You'd probably be aware when there's landscape that's burned out and horrendous and people looking around, also you see a little sprout coming up. There's hope.
Well, that's Maui, or go to the Big Island where there's lava over everything. That's that right. First little sprout you see coming up from after Pele is like, woohoo!
Exactly. There's always life. There's never no life. There's always life.
Yeah. So last question I have, you're leaving people here. We're talking ethics. We're talking responsibility. We could shatter people. Hopefully we haven't done that. We can bring people up. What's the one thing you want to leave people with today?
That don't waste your time here. The time is fleeting. And I know this very well since I just lost both sibling within 18 months. And it forced me, who has a knowledge and awareness of this work, that, it teaches me that, you have moment by moment, day by day. I used to say, hey, you day, week after week. And now I'm like, no, you have breath after breath. Just breath by breath is what you live. And you got to live fully in those moments. Every moment to be fully lived. Don't waste that. I always think like a moment like a space, right? And I'm like, how am I going to fill that space? And I'm thinking, moment by moment, you don't want to fill that space with grief. You don't want to fill that space with, I got to forgive someone, or I don't like somebody, or negative things. I'm going to make it as pretty as possible, as a lovely space that I'm proud of. So I think everybody should live in the moment in a positive way as best as they can, and also share with another a positive attribute each day. Either at the CVS or the Target or a gas station, say hello to someone, validate someone, like I talked about earlier. Just acknowledge that, because we need that more than ever now, because we're all this isolated. So that's really important. And the other thing, number 2, is, this is a good one. So life is a series of choices, and all choices, if we look back at our lives, we came with a series of choices to make. And all choices are based upon 2 things, either love or fear. And fear is of this 3-dimensional vibration. It's not of the spiritual world. It's not who we are. We are pure loving beings. So that's something you should remember from now on. And again, what other people think of you is none of your business. And I'll leave you with that.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much. This has been so beautiful. And how does it get any better than this? So for everyone out there, be well, have fun. To me, and I'm guessing for James as well, remember that live life like it's living art. That's who and what you are. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo!
Woo!
Oh, Wow. That was a fasten your seatbelt. Hold on. Hugely, given the topic, giving the the start of things, hugely positive show. I hope you agree with me. And this is what it's all about. This is what I teach in the School of Mystics: is bringing it back to love, bringing it back to forgiveness, bringing it back on the inside to live at that higher realm, to live on that higher plane. On that note, if you want to do that, if you want to join us with our family in the School of Mystics, click that link down below. We would love to have you there. We would love to share the joy, the experience. I want to say the rapture. There's a word that I don't use, but the frequency of going through this together at a higher level. So that's the School of Mystics down below. If you simply want to bring your vibration up, way up, like James or myself on a daily basis, get our free newsletter, dailywoohoo.com. How can you beat that? dailywoohoo.com. And if you want to learn how to channel as well and hear from your loved ones and hear from your angels and guides and more from the other side, go to automaticwriting.com. I've got all these links down below. Go to automaticwriting.com. Live classes help you, live classes and video-based program to help you learn how to connect today with your loved ones on the other side of the veil. On that note, I love you so much. I wish you all the best. Have an amazing day ahead and keep on shining bright. Woohoo! Here's a link to the next show. And how does it get any better than this? Lots of love.